Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn 101, Episode 19. In this episode, we're going to be covering the stat differences for each race and the clan within the race. We'll get a little bit more into the details of that when I move into it, but this is really for the people. A lot of people have been asking me, what is the best class, what is the best race for each class, and how can I really maximize my character? Are the stat differences really that different? Is it really important? Is it minorly important? To answer all those questions before I even tell you what the stat differences are, I can tell you they are minimal at level 1. I still have to test in the following weeks how they are, how they progress from 1 to 50 and the differences between each race there. That is not going to be that easy to do because I only obviously have one race at 50, but I can at least get some sort of an idea, level something to 10 and potentially think in my mind scaling it up. But then you have to take into account passives, and it works very difficultly, but I can tell you that the developers have assured us that these differences are minimal. So if you're just worried about what your character looks like, don't take the stats into account. If you are worried about doing the absolute most damage or taking the absolute least amount of damage, even if it's just by 3 to 5 points, then this is the video for you guys. I'm also going to be covering the differences in their birth signs, which are minimal as well, but we'll get into that later. Before I start and show you guys this stuff, let me just say that this video is in no way a breach of the non-disclosure agreement currently in place for Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn. We cannot use audio or video, so I will be using screenshots to show you guys my points. So let me just switch my screen regions right here. And alright, here we go. This is character creation right here, and as you can see, I've currently picked a Rogadin, and I'm on the Hellsguard clan, so that's where I'm going to start. I'm going to work my way from the bottom up in terms of the character creation screen, just because of a few mistakes I made in the screenshot taking. So first one we have is Hellsguard. Now, before I even say this, let me just say that the main difference I see between two clans within the same race is one is usually more melee-centric and one is usually more caster-centric. So right now I'm on Hellsguard, and they appear to be a little bit more caster-centric, but even still they have a lot of points in other stuff. For example, they have Strength 20, Dex 17, Vit 21. That's not so bad for being a mage-centric, but you can see there's much more consistency in the mage stats with 20 Int, 22 Mind, and 20 Piety. So this is really, I guess, a caster. If you're dedicated to playing a caster and nothing else, and you want to play a Rogadin, this is where you'd go. Next we have the Seawolves. These are more melee-centric, but even still, their stats aren't that bad in the caster, and that's really the pattern you're going to see here for the most part. 22 Strength, 18 Dex, 23 Vit. A lot more Vit, a lot more Strength. So if you're really looking for tank-heavy or even damage-heavy, other than maybe Archer and Bard, then this is definitely the way to go for most of your classes and jobs if you want to play a Rogadin. And they still have 17 and 21 Mind and 19 Piety at the starting, so it really, it's not a huge difference, and you're going to see that's a pattern for the rest of this. So done with Rogadin, you can see the differences. Seekers of the Sun, Miqo'tes, or Miqo'te, however you want to pronounce it for the layman. These guys seem to be a little bit more melee-centric. 21 Strength, 22 Dex, 20 Vit, 18 Intelligence, 19 Mind, and 20 Piety. I figured I'd zoom in a little bit so you can see it. So yeah, a little bit more melee-centric, and it's a male cat. So if you want to be a male cat and you want to be a tank or whatever not, then this will probably be the better one. But let's go on to the next one. I gotta zoom in again. That's cool. Okay, so here we have the Keepers of the Moon, and they still have 18 Strength, 21 Dex, and 17 Vit. Their Vit is pretty low for starting, but again, it's only a couple of points of HP, so it's not a big deal. They do have 19 It, 23 Mind, and 22 Piety. These are definitely the more caster-centric ones. Again, there's not really much more to say than to just tell you what the stat differences are, so this should be a pretty quick video. The Dunesfolk. Dunesfolk is, now everybody knows the Lalafels. If you play Final Fantasy XI, very similar to the Tarus. Very high magic stats naturally, but there is a difference between the two. Similar to the Tarus of the original Final Fantasy, although the mind's a little bit too high. They have low Dex and Vit at 17 and 17. I mean, low Strength and Vit at 17 and 17. My bad. Their Dex sits at 20, which is pretty decent considering that they're, this is the mage-centric one. But then scaling up, it's in 21, Mind 22, Piety 23. That you just, it gets better. That means they have a little bit more maximum mana. They do a little bit better heals and a little bit more damage. So again, let's just move on to the Plainsfolk Tartars. I'm going to call them Tartaros. Actually, Lalafels, doesn't really matter. Even these guys, still very caster-centric. So as you can see, they have a little bit higher strength and Vit, 1 point higher at 18 and 18. Their Dex is 2 points higher, though, at 22. But the most noticeable thing is that their Int, Mind, and Piety are still 21, 20, and 21. Which means that even no matter which one you pick, they're going to be good at casters. This one will be a little bit better with the melee, though. So you can start to see the racial differences in their past and their lore come into play in terms of their stats. Even outside of the clans, even just looking at the races, these guys are much more caster-centric. And it has to do with their lore and their starting town and things like that. Next we have the Dusk White Elizons, they have pretty even stats all around, but their high stat is definitely int. Their strength and dex are at 20, vit is at 19, but their int is at 23, which is pretty high. Their mind is at 20 and their piety is at 18, so they do in fact have less MP, a little bit more HP, but these are also this is definitely the caster-centric one. It's a little bit weird that they have that little MP, but you know what? It's just their way of differentiating the races just a little bit. Next we have the Wildwood Elizons. Now these guys are definitely a smorgasbord of stats. Their strength is a little bit lower by 1 point. It's at 19. Their dex is at 23 though. So these are definitely your, I guess your bard almost, you could say. Kind of, you know, character, if that's what you were only interested in running. Vit's 18, a little bit lower, but their int is still 22. It's only 1 point lower than it was on the other one. Mind is 17, significantly lower, but they have a little bit more MP on this one, so with their piety being at 21. So again, differences, minuscule. Let's just move on, you know? Highlanders. Highlanders are, you know, the humans. This guy looks very sad with his beard. He has 23 strength, pretty high, 20 dex, and 22 vits. You can say he's more melee-centric, but he still does have 18 int, 20 mind, and 17 piety. Humans are pretty well known for being well-rounded in most regards, but, you know, all of them are pretty well-rounded, just in different ways. So let's move on to the final type of character, and it's the Midlander. This guy's got a nice little mustache going here. He's got 21 strength, 19 vit, 19 dex, 20 vit, 21 int, 18 mind, 21 piety. Definitely extremely well-rounded. He's got more MPs. He does a decent damage with his cast, a little bit less with his heals, and he's got really high strength and decent vit with all right dexterity. Keep in mind, dex doesn't affect accuracy, so don't worry about that. If you're curious about that, go check out the other video on my channel that tells you what each stat does, because that would probably help a lot with this video. In fact, I'm probably going to include a link to that at the beginning of this video, so it's a little bit easy to understand. So those are the major differences between all of your classes, well, between all your races and the clans. So you know, so some people this isn't really a big deal. They're gonna make their character based on how it looks, and that's the way I kind of encourage it to be played. But for all of you people out there that really like to number crunch and really like to see just you know, theory crafting, how effective you can make a specific aspect of your character, you know, now you have the information that you need. I'll try and upload a document somewhere and eventually include it in the description below. I don't know how long that's going to take, but maybe I'll just include the stats in the description just by default. But anyway, that's the difference between the races and the stats. Now, I'm going to do this one real quick, this next part, because this part is now the signs. I'm going to start from, this is a really weird spot to start from. Is it actually out of order? So these are kind of all out of order, but you get the point. Rhalgar is the one that's blown up, and as you can see, this is pretty much the way it's going to work for all of them. 3 elements are all going to be 52, 1 is going to be 50, 1 is going to be 54, and 1's going to be 53. So in this case, the Earth is 50, Lightning is 54, and Water is 53. If we move on to the next one, Fire is 53, Ice is 50, and Wind is 54. Also, in case you haven't noticed, the top row will always be different, or the bottom row will always be different. You'll never have like 50 lightning and 54 wind. You'll never have something like that. So next we have the bottom row is the one that changed. 53 earth, 50 lightning, 54 water. These are all really minuscule changes. I'm just going to go through them for the fact that I've already started. 54 earth, 53 lightning, 50 water on Nafaka. Nald'thal has 52, actually 54 fire, 53 ice, and 50 wind. Menfina has 50 fire, 54 ice, and 53 wind. Malayan person, 53 fire, 50 ice, 54 wind. Halone, 50 fire, 54 ice, 53 wind. You know, Bayer got 50 earth, 54 lightning, 53 water. Azima, 54 fire, 53 ice, 50 wind. Altheic, how many more of these do I have left? 54 earth, 53 lightning, 50 water. Thaliac, 53 lightning, 53 earth, 50 lightning, 54 water. And now we're back to the beginning of the Hellsguard. So I guess that was all of them. I know that was a little quick, but as you can see, those differences are so minuscule, it barely even matters. And besides, resistances, you know, you're going to get gear for stuff like that. And having 2 less or 2 more than you would normally, not a huge deal. It's not going to, very rarely is that going to save your life. I don't want to say never, because sometimes 1 point of damage can be a lifesaver. But anyway, that was the video on the character creation sets. It's been something that people have been asking me about a lot. I'm going to need to elaborate on this more at some point, because I'm going to need to show how it scales as you level. Besides, and that's not including the 30 bonus points you get from leveling up. So anyway, if you thought this video was useful, if you liked it, please like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Share it, especially if you have somebody who's one of those people who really wants to see what the stat differences is, even if they're not too curious about like min-maxing, just to just to give them an idea. Maybe this will help sway them one direction or another. Also, check out my Facebook at www.facebook.com/MrHappy1227. You can the link's in the description below. You can go there and ask me all kinds of questions. You can even request videos that maybe I don't already have the ideas for, that you are really looking forward to, information that you really need. So anyway, thanks for watching, and stay tuned because got more episodes coming. So stay tuned.